Thanks for joining us today, guys. Today we're joined by Charles Cormier and excited for him to share a little bit about his journey and his perspective with us. So without further ado, Charles, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
For sure, man. Liam, thank you for having me to the podcast. I think I can share a thing or two that will be valuable to the audience. I'm CEO of Top Leads nowadays. I lead a bunch of other business. I have a mastermind, I have a coaching practice as well, and a bunch of other ventures. I was in supplement a couple of years ago, gave up that one. Basically, I owned a bunch of business, and my goal in life is to create the largest startup ecosystem in the world. So yeah, that's pretty much me in under 15 seconds.
When you say the largest ecosystem for startups in the world, what does that mean?
Yeah, that means $1 trillion with a T. If we had to put a number on it, if we would have to dig and look at the artistic side of it, the hard side of it, would be to have all these startups, these social startups that would add value to the world. Because to me, a startup, it's all about the product. The product needs to add value. And today I wrote a quick post about that. But like all these businesses offering free trials, let's say like Canva, which is an amazing software, or let's say Zapier. These startups, they do add value to the world just through these free trials. You can use them for free, literally. So my goal is to create all of these startups, starting in some specific niche that I am very well accustomed to. For example, sales, health. I'm huge in like health is pretty much everything for me as a biohacker. I want to live forever. I want to start a startup that will be in longevity. I want to get into space, AI, and all of these things, all of these moonshots. But obviously, we want to start small with businesses that, like I said, I'm good at. For example, agencies. So Top Leads, for example, which is part of this ecosystem, is an agency that will bring you leads. Again, your calendar. We do cold email, SDR as a service. We also do closing as a service, and we do raising as a service, recruiting as a service, all through cold email and copywriting, which is what I'm into. So we will start all of these little itty bitty agency, a legal agency, an HR agency, let's say, to fuel the whole ecosystem. And why the ecosystem is that I can give something as Top Leads to this other business that is part of the ecosystem, and this business can give back. And last but not least, the thing with this ecosystem, we have this program here at Top Leads in which we recruit people, young people, and the end goal with this partnership with them is to start a business with this young person after a year, after they've been through all the nuts and bolts of the business and all of the departments, to start a business with them. And if it's not with them, we plan on buying, acquiring, selling some of our business as well. But that's pretty much the ecosystem vision. Not sure if I explained it that well, but that's my vision.
Lots of moving parts, lots of different functions, lots of, well, I would say different industries
Chaos.
within a similar function. Yeah, there's always chaos, right? And when you
Yeah,
can bring order to the chaos, that's when you've got an ecosystem, right?
exactly.
That
You
can,
need to thrive under chaos and complexity, which is my daily reality. I was talking just today in one of my mastermind and saying that I constantly challenge myself. I constantly hire more people, expand our operations, and start new product categories. And I think as an entrepreneur, if you want to go big, that is because some of us they just want to have their thing solo. They just love the solopreneur life. It's simple. But if you want to go big, you need to deal with chaos and adversity every day.
so you've obviously been had your hands in a lot of different pots, been successful. I'm sure you've had your own tribulations and
Failures.
challenges along the way as well. But diving into the core topic for us, once you hit that point where you don't have to worry about roof over the head, food on the table, you've got extra income, profitability coming into the business. What was the framework that you used in terms of where to put that money? Did you pour it back into the business? Did you travel the world? And how did you decide how to make those decisions?
Yeah, so the world has changed, and my reality is not the same as most. But if like we have a bunch of entrepreneurs listening right now, I think they will relate in some shape and form. In my case, I decided to reinvest it back in my businesses and myself. Let's start with the myself part, which precedes the business. Myself means health, right? So I don't have any freaking budget for my health, literally zero limits for my health. I invest a whole bunch in my health. Same for my wife. If she wants me to buy her something, it's regarding her health, no goddamn limits. You know, we go all in with the health. That means organic food. That means buying marathon, Ironmans, all of these things. Although one could argue that these things are pretty much unhealthy. That means spending loads on supplements. Although I did slack on that. That means fueling a tea addiction that's been going on for quite a while, and a coffee addiction for a while. Always the best, you know, always buying the best types of food. That's the health part. Now, like after that, I would say my knowledge. I also don't have any limits on my budget when it comes to knowledge. I have around 400 books in my Audible. I have a script subscription. I have probably 200 audiobooks on my phone. Bought so many Kindle books, so many courses, so many classes. I don't have a limit on my budget for that, because it always comes back times 10, you know. If for health, for example, if I'm sick a couple of days, that's money that I will not have made. If I died, let's say at 70 instead of 80, or just not dying, that means that, yeah, like I would have 10 to 20 years of not producing wealth and enjoying wealth, you know. So I would start the myself part with that. Then what's remaining, I invested back in my business, and I viewed business pretty much as some kind of MBA back in days. I dropped out of university when I think I was 23 at that age. When I come back from Hong Kong as an exchange student, I decided to drop out of school. I was making more than my teachers. And I was like, okay, this is dumb. You know, I was looking at my PayPal and my emails while they were giving their classes about theories, you know, not practice. And I had enough. It was a tough decision because, you know, our parents, they always have like big expectations. Oh, get your diploma, else you won't have anything. And they're kind of responsible for us. And then they have their own fears that they put into you. So basically, yeah, I decided to drop out quite early out of school. And I would pretty much, in my agency, I was profitable from day one, right? My first agency was a website design one, very basic, you know. Then I went into AdWords, and I had my call centers, my Facebook ads agencies. And now after the LinkedIn one, the cold email one, an agency is profitable from day one as a definition. Let's say you charge like 3K a month, and I mean, you're the only employee, well, you'll make at least 3K, and you don't have much expenses. And coming back to the business point, because, you know, I don't want to talk forever. I had this supplement startup, okay? And I think I lost 40K in that one. And you know what? I don't give a crap if I lost this money, because it was literally the equivalent of an MBA, but on steroids, you know? Like I learned how to design the bottle, how to create the formula, the supplement formula. Yeah, supplement business, MBA, I got 40K in the hole for that one, but I learned a whole bunch for that part of the business. Right. So the last part that I wanted to say on that topic was happiness. I think although I do have a strong respect for like saving money, and especially if you've got it invested in some cash stores that will bring money on autopilot, basically like a Vanguard index fund or something like that. Or I'm not into real estate at all. Maybe you could discuss that. Maybe you could teach me a thing or two about this one, although I do prefer like online businesses. We can discuss about that later. But happiness is always a great ROI, because if you take care of your lifestyle and how happy you are, not only are you living your life in the moment, but that energy. I view things in terms of energy, not really in terms of money. If I am like high energy, and if I am happy and all that, well, my team will feel it. The culture will feel it. My clients will feel it. I'll close more deals as a result. So I've always had a big focus on my happiness. And yes, I was trying to discover the world at this time, trying to have fun and live different culture and like traveling and trying the Tim Ferriss lifestyle. Nowadays, I wouldn't invest my money in that again, but I did it, so at least I knew. And that's also a big part of my philosophy, ABCDFG testing, I call it.
So it sounds like there's kind of four key areas for you. There's health, there's kind of personal advancement, books, courses, etc. There's investing back in the business, and then there's happiness. How do you determine, right, if you've got a limited amount of funds, is it in that order in terms of where you would spend them, or how do you determine how much to put in each bucket?
Yeah, if you're at this very moment talking to you, I would say health first. But in the past, it would have been knowledge first, because how can you know in what to invest in your health if you don't have the knowledge, right? So first I had to read a bunch of books on the topic. What are my best books? I would say Boundless by Ben Greenfield. That's a very good start. Maybe you've heard of Life Force with Tony Robbins. That's another good one, a recent one. I think he has a good book about money as well, Tony Robbins, probably for your audience. But I would say if you're starting your journey, it's knowledge first, then health, then your business, right? But at the stage that I'm in right now, I already have the knowledge. It's sitting there, and all I need to do is first invest in health stuff, whether it's a Terragun for me to stay like injury free in my Ironmans, whether it's this supplement. But ironically enough, like I think most of the best health hack do not require any money, like fasting, for example. Fasting is a very good one for the mindset. You also have breathing. Okay, so I have this app on my phone. That's an investment, and I mean it's like $21 a month, but it's highly worth it. It's called Othership, and you get in touch with your breathing. So to answer your question, yeah, like I would go with health first nowadays, knowledge, business, and probably happiness / lifestyle fourth place, because I mean I don't need much to be happy nowadays.
So what falls in that happiness bucket, right? You talked about kind of traveling the world and the Tim Ferriss lifestyle, but you've moved away
Yeah,
from it, right? So what's in that bucket for you today?
I think that this is superficial. I think most of my happiness nowadays come from the fact of knowing that I invest my time and energy in something that I like, that I give out my knowledge pretty much for free for a bunch of people, that I help nonprofits get more donations, for example. And even before that, I think, meditation is the key to happiness, just to understand that you can close your eyes and you can breathe and feel happiness, because everything, we have this thing called a brain, frontal lobe, that can have us imagine pretty much anything. You can feel that Ferrari before driving it, and you might have more fun in your head than actually driving the thing. So in the happiness bucket, I'd say working on the ecosystem stuff, which is like super fun. Have the podcast as well, like talking to people and interviewing people is hella fun. Learning, I get like unholy amount of joy from just learning new things, and sharing that knowledge. Then if you want to get like in the typical stuff, well, spending time with my wife nowadays, going to the restaurant, eating healthy food, quality food, that you feel better afterward, you feel more energized. And I derive fun from a bunch of other things, boxing, which is one of my favorite sport, accomplishing tough stuff. I got addicted to that sensation. I'm climbing Mexico's highest mountain next weekend, so stuff like that. And this, yes, is stuff that money allows you to do. Climbing a mountain is not inexpensive, even if it's in Mexico. When I climbed Everest and all of these things. And that's what money really allowed me to do, like bucket list type of events. And yeah, I'm a restaurant guy. I started my career, I was as a waiter. So now it's like the opposite. I'm sitting at the table and they're waiting me. So these kinds of things,
How did you get to the point where that was your framework, right? So I imagine growing up, that probably wasn't what was taught to you, or how you envision things. And I imagine at some point there was learning to kind of dive into some of these things. So what was that journey like for you, and kind of how did you get to this point?
Dude, the mindset evolved so much. Okay, my definition of success when I was 18, being raised on hip hop cultures and 50 Cent telling me to fuck bitches and get money and spend it on Lambos. That's what my life, that's my mindset back in days. Okay, I'm gonna have multiple girlfriends. And by the way, I tried this lifestyle. I had the BMW at like 18 and the gold chains and all that. And I was like, no, this is not life. I'm still not happy. I'm still, this kid that's binge drinking on the weekend and thinking he's a baller and, getting in all kinds of troubles. And that wasn't the life. That was my mindset back in days. And I think that it was, all the cool kids back in days, because I was one of these cool kids. I think that was the mindset back in the days, like this is the definition of success. Then when I started business, my views started to shift a little bit when one of my first mentors, that one of the coolest thing he taught me is that, go for that big mission and make it larger than yourself, like include other people in that mission, do good in this world, in the very classic Silicon Valley, make a world a better place. Well, that was my freaking mission, my freaking vision for like 3 years. It's not that anymore. It's more precise. But I think my priorities shifted also when I decided, for example, to have a wife and go in the sacred union type of thing, to commit to a partner for life. And if I would talk to my 18-year-old self, I would kind of, this guy was impossible to convince, he had such a big ego, but I would tell him, like life is more than just this, there's more. That's what I would have said to young Charles.
So was there an event that took you from 50 Cent, hip hop, being in the club to mindset, right? Meditation, right? Like breathing
Yes.
apps. How do you, I don't see 50 Cent going from there to there, right? So how did Charles get from 50 to over here?
I need to promote 50's book, though. His last book was quite good, and Robert Greene made a good one. I think it's like the 50th Law, which is about fear, which is very good. Good audiobooks, but like just like everything, you need to take some and you need to leave some. The answer to your question is again knowledge. Okay, so like I learned this thing through all of these mentors. I don't even need to meet these mentors physically. They were just in my ears while I was working out, while I was cooking, while I was doing something else then that didn't require my full attention. So I learned all of these concepts from them. And from there on, I think my views changed.
That makes sense. If you were to give one piece of advice, right, to someone who's trying to make a shift in their life, what would you recommend? Where do they start?
Education. Go on script.com. Okay, it will literally cost you $15 a month or 10. I forgot the exact price to get all these beautiful audiobooks I referred to today. I must mention that back in the days, and props to my mom for that, but she put a book in my hand. That's a funny word. She put a book in my hand. It was called Think and Grow Rich, and the edition, I still remember the color because this book was sold in millions and millions of copies, and the edition was a green cover, an apple green cover. And I started reading that book while I was still living the drunk life, but I would get home at night, even if I would be drunk, and I would read the book, and this would get in my psyche. And before I knew it, I read the book 2 or 3 times again. And obviously that was 6 years ago. This for you, Liam, it's a low-level book, right? You won't learn much from reading this. But if you're starting, this book is a gateway to many other self-help type of book and self-improvement. That led me to read the biography of many other entrepreneurs. And I dug into this huge brick of Einstein, and I renewed with my passion to learn, because at some point of my life, I stopped reading. I stopped doing lots of things because at high school, I wasn't the popular kid anymore. And, like my self-esteem kind of dropped. And then I renewed with my passion of reading and learning. And yeah, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Louise. You put that book in my hand, and it started a journey that pretty much never ended. And I don't think it will ever end.
It's pretty awesome. What's the best way for the audience to connect back with you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Charles Cormier, Cormier, my family name. So I should pop on first, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I've got my website, charlescormier.co, my company website, which is toplead.agency. You guys can check me out there, but LinkedIn's the main place as I drop a lot of value bombs there. And yeah, was glad to talk to you today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for the time, Charles.
Thank you, man.